Hi class, here is our last recording for chapter 14. We're going to be focusing on senescence of the nervous system. As we look at our nervous system as we age, we are going to have an increase in the atrophy of the cerebral cortex, so our cerebral cortex gets smaller. We're also going to have an increase in neuronal atrophy, so we lose neurons as we age. Our nervous system, generally speaking, peaks around the age of 30. Our brain weight is going to be about half that mass by the time we reach age 75. To emphasize this, we can look at down below. We have an MRI of a 27-year-old. Note how this 27-year-old has some ventricles. Here's the lateral ventricles. So they are present. And then here's the brain scan of an 87-year-old. Note the enlargement of, let me shift colors here. Note the enlargement of the lateral ventricles within the 87-year-old as that individual has aged, relative to the cross-sectional area of the lateral ventricles within the 27-year-old. So 27-year-olds, generally speaking, have more brain matter. As we age, our brain mass decreases. The processing matter within our brain, the cortex, becomes thinner. That cortex is where we have most of the gray matter of the cerebrum. The gyri themselves, those ridges become narrower, sulci become wider. All in all, we have less processing power as we age. It's worth emphasizing that as we age, even though we have less processing power, one of the things that occurs is that we develop many shortcuts. Speaking as a career educator, my best students typically are the students that are in their 40s or 50s. I've had several grandmothers in my class, and I've got to tell you that those individuals have been rock star students. There's a lot of flexibility for individuals. Usually the thing that happens as we age is that not only do we have less processing power, but we learn to develop shortcuts and take advantage of the shortcuts, and we also develop more self-control. So while yes, that 27-year-old maybe isn't going to have to work as hard to learn the material, the ability of a young person to learn the material is reduced because they don't necessarily have the ability or the self-control to work as hard. That older individual, while they may necessarily have a harder time learning the material, it's easier for them to learn the material because they are used to working much harder relative to the very young person. As we age, our neurons themselves are going to contain less endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi complex. What does this mean? This means that the neurons are going to have more lipofuscin pigment accumulate. We're going to have more tangles develop within our neurons, and extracellular protein plaques accumulate, particularly the beta amyloid plaques, which are a key hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. This is a very common, the most common disability of the nervous system as we age. As we age, motor coordination will be reduced. Intellectual function also declines as well. Candidly, I'll admit I've noticed a decline in my cognitive functions, particularly since I became a parent. I used to be able to do percentage calculations in my head, no problem, and Calc 1 and Calc 2 calculations in my head, no problem. Now I find myself leaning towards that piece of paper pretty regularly. As we look at our autonomic nervous system, the branch of our nervous system that is under subconscious control, our autonomic nervous system becomes less efficient, and it becomes more difficult for us to regulate body temperature and or blood pressure. This is one of the reasons why we find that individuals that are aged oftentimes will have the temperature turned up really high in the winter on the thermostat in their house, or really cool in the summer to help accommodate for the fact that they have a harder time regulating their body temperature. And that's all we have for our recording on the senescence of the nervous system. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to post them on the class discussion board or shoot me an email. And as always, happy studies.